Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to the biggest stars, and it's always nice to meet gorgeous people. Debbie McGee, how are you?
Thank you, I'm very well.
Congratulations. Here we are in... Paul Daniels. Sorry, I must have...
International sex symbol and bodybuilder. That's me, yes.
How are you doing? Congratulations. Just wowed an audience here in Derby. You're on tour at the minute, and everybody loves it. And what amazed me tonight, there are more young people here than old people. You've got the young crowd, haven't you?
That's because I'm the same size as the kids. No, they've caught up with me now on YouTube. The word's gone out, and mostly because I've always been a geek, and I've used social media before there was such a thing. And so I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on everywhere, and they pick that up. Then they go to YouTube to see what I do, and because it's not dramatic and it's not I am the most wonderful magician on the planet style stuff at all, I have fun, and people like having fun. Last night was hysterical because I glanced into the wings during that final routine, and there was a stagehand rolling on the floor. I mean, literally rolling on the floor, hugging himself with laughter. And I thought, wow, that's cool. You know, it's really good. I like that. I would rather I've got to baffle them. All the tricks have got to be baffling. But above that, there's something beyond the trick itself. There's got to be an entertainment factor. And I entertain with comedy.
And of course you've got a line for everything. That's your great gift in this show. Nobody can floor you, and that slickness only comes with time. And as we sat down, we were talking about Las Vegas. It's the last bastion of sort of showbiz magic, isn't it, Vegas? Matt King thinks you're the greatest magician in the world. David Copperfield talks about you. How is it to be respected by people who are as great as them?
Well, it's deserved. And thank you, Mac. Thank you, David. Thank you, Lance. These guys are great. I love them. And the truth is, it's an oddity. We have more friends in Vegas and LA than we have over here in the world of magic. It's a kind of mutual respect society. If I had to pick my favorite magic, you just named them, and of course, being the comedy guy, I love Matt King. And oddly enough, I love my son Martin as well, who's very fast with the ad-libs, superbly fast, really good, and a good entertainer. He just did his first magical circle dinner and shredded them, so he'll be out on the circuit, I suppose, now.
I want to say nice things about you, but let's face it, the show would be nothing without you, Debbie. I mean, without your glamour and your professionalism and the 49 different frock changes throughout, I mean, it would be nothing, let's be honest.
Well, I must say, I do get lots of comments about the numerous changes, so I have to do it, don't I? That's what the audience expect of me. So, yeah, only 6 actually this time, but no, we have great fun together. So I love doing this show. It was all sort of new for this tour, so it's just been completely different, but we've really enjoyed it, so it's been a good tour.
Yeah, it's like when Kevin James and his Illusionists team, they came to see the show, and Kevin afterwards, who was a great ideas man, and he said, "Hey Paul," he said, "I've never seen any of this stuff before anywhere." And I said, "Well, no, I only put it together this last year, you know." And that was a big decision, because you tend to do like Mac with his, we call them fig biscuits over here, don't they? Fig Newtons, they call them, don't they? Yeah? And the wonderful cloak of invisibility. Well, like Mac, I did my show for years, and I'm internationally known for this trick with a cup and a ball and the chairs and the egg, lemon and walnut and all that. And the beginning of, springtime of last year, I just said, nope, I'm going to change the lot. And the only complaint I've had about this show came this week, didn't it, from a magician. One person complained. He was a magician, and he'd come to see the cup and the bowl and the chairs, and I didn't know any of them. And he was, well, I paid to see that, you know. No, you didn't. You paid to see me and Debbie's legs.
Do you take the compliment, though, that it's a bit like Sinatra and My Way, that we know you for it? And the one thing I would say about you, you're a magician's magician. Some guys come on stage and do a lot of pointing and waving and massive sets sort of do the show for them. You're all about the actual physicality of the trick, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. But also, I take the trouble to dress a little. When you're touring, it's okay if you're in Vegas and you're doing a season. I turned down a 10-year contract there. And oddly enough, the fellow who offered me it is coming over in a couple of weeks, isn't he? And from the Tropicana, years ago. And so what happened was, I know that comedians, particularly nowadays, they go out and work in what they call a black box set. All you get is a set of blacks, you know. So we carry the red banners and the white carpet, and we made a bunko banner to change the view and all that. And on one night stands, the venues vary wildly in size and shape and angles of view. I now do seminars for up-and-coming pros, amateurs, anybody who wants to come along and learn. And one of the things I teach is that what is the point of learning a magic trick that can only be performed from one angle? You know, I mean, what's the point of that? Because all my stuff, I can do it in the round, and I have. In boxing rings, I've done it. In circus rings, I've done it, you know. I don't care where the people are or the cameras. I hate camera tricks. I hate editing to bring about magic, because you might as well employ an actor, mightn't you?
And again, there's parts of your show that put me in mind of Penn and Teller, who sort of take the mick out of the medium, because you do say to us things like mediumship isn't real and this is why, and you explain it. That means a lot to you as well, that you're not coming across as this pompous magician who's stroking your hair and taking yourself incredibly seriously.
What hair? What happened to hair? I remember. In fact, the last tour was called Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. And I think the next tour, because this is the first farewell tour, I think the next tour is probably going to be called the Debbie McGee Shoe Fund Tour. I have no idea yet, but still.
Either that or a new rockery. There I was last week on holiday, and I get the Daily Mail, and you're all over it. You're flooded out. How are you? Are your frocks surviving?
Oh, absolutely. The thing is, you know, the press, the media want to have a disaster, don't they? Well, we live on the river. So once every 10 years or so, the water comes up high. Now, from an aerial shot, yes, our house was surrounded. We were our own little island. But nothing was in the house. We were getting in and out every day. And we and our neighbours and our little lane were our own community. And when it does come up like that, which, as I said, it's not very often, we all get together in our wellies and go to the local Indian or go into each other's houses, and it's great fun. But of course the press want it to be, oh my God, the house is flooded and whatever. But no, we're quite dry.
They were very disappointed because they turned up with photographers and the house was all dry. You know, was that Debbie doing a ventriloquist act? No, and the house was dry and fine, so they asked me about other things. So it's just, we love where we live. We live in heaven for umpteen years, and then once every 10 years, Debbie says, it just, the water comes up, but the garden likes it. It's fine. And in fact, 10 years ago, it was much higher than this year. Yeah.
So you're thinking yourself lucky, really?
Well, yeah, I suppose, yes. I mean, you know, we would just expect at some point it's going to come up. And the thing we have become experts at is what flowers survive standing in water for a week. Because that's the thing with the press, you know, they make it look like it's going on forever. But we had 2 days where the water was that high and a week where it was sort of, you know, just up to a couple of inches over the driveway. So, and to us that's nothing. And we have a great lawn in the summer once we've had the flooding, don't we?
No man is an island.
And of course they love to report how much your house is worth, and it is beautiful, let's face it. And that of course was down to the 80s and the 90s of you being two of the most famous, loved and popular stars on TV. I don't think it's ever going to happen again. How do you view that now? Were you lucky? Did you deserve it? Or was it the best time of your life?
I took a look at magic. I looked at me. I realized I was a product. I employed a marketing guy to get me on TV. I looked at magicians on TV, like the great Johnny Hart, who did the same act every time he went on, and I decided that was a marketing mistake. And so I turned show business into show business. And I'd already plotted routines. In fact, I opened a box just last week and it was full of my original writings about what I would do if I got on TV. And it was routines that I still haven't got around to doing, I guess, some of them. But when I first offered them up, they said, oh, these are perfect. How much do you want for them? Tommy will do them. And I said, no, you don't get it, dear. They laugh at Tommy when it goes wrong, and they laugh at me when it goes right. There's the difference, you know. And now I teach people how to be funny, how I developed comedy, because I used to be very shy, for real. And how I developed it, you can do it. I know all about illusion and dramatic magic and music magic and mind reading magic, only because I've done nothing else but read about it for 60 odd years.
I think also, which is what something I know you say to the young magicians as well, is don't watch other magicians, be yourself, but watch other performers who've been there for a long time or who are good, because that's how you learnt, and that was my background. Wasn't magic. I hated magic, but it was theatre. So I was taught a lot of theatre craft, which I was always amazed at what Paul knew without having the training that I'd had. And
it's only because I'm nosy. You know, how does that work? Yeah.
And also, I say, when Paul said he employed a marketing guy to get him onto television, is that, you know, some of the things that people never get to hear about is, yes, he did employ a guy, he, you know, and treated it like a business, but he also got this guy to sit in the reception of the BBC for 3 days and nights. He didn't go home. And he just, every time he knew in those days, there was a guy that booked acts and booked variety. He knew who he was. And just every time this guy came out of the lift, this chap that Paul had employed was there. And this chap is now an executive producer in television himself. But
yes, he is.
That's what he did.
And a few years back, the BBC wanted me to go to America, where I was unknown, to see if I could make a living. And they dropped me in Peoria on Thanksgiving Day. There was absolutely nothing in town. There was nobody moving, walking, anything. But by that night, I was on television. The next day, double-page spreads in the newspapers, and their BBC team hadn't a clue how I was pulling this stuff off at all. But every time I showed a trick to somebody, and they said, "Oh man, you're a really special guy," I said, "Really think so? Thank you very much. Here, if you think so, ring this number and tell them." And I was handing out local TV stations, television numbers and press and all that. And so at lunchtime, the waitress said, "Oh my God, I just love that magic trick you just did." And I said, "You really think so? Phone this number." So she phoned the television and they said, "We keep hearing about this guy. Where the hell is he?" And she said, "He's sitting in my restaurant. Don't let him go." Well, the BBC, with their mini cameras, taking secret candid camera type views of what I was up to, were astonished to see this team come in with full-size TV camera, lighting and everything, and I did the interview. So by the next night, I was doing a comedy club that another guy on the bill had been trying for 8 months to get onto. It's marketing. That's what it is.
But isn't it also that you were the first to do it? I mean, it's all very well you telling 1,000 people what you did and how they can achieve it, but you were the first couple on TV that people fell in love with. That was fun. Seeing the way that you performed was fun. And of course, you'd learnt your craft. I think that's where it's gone wrong now. People want to be a star without necessarily having the talent to pull it off.
Magically, your main problem now is for a decade or more, they've all focused on close-up magic. Oh, you know, they think it's wonderful. That's the easiest form of magic to do, close-up magic. The most difficult form is walking onto a stage. Cabaret club, well, I learned in the working men's club, still stages, you know, where they really let you know. And so, for me, if you can only do one thing in magic, you really are missing the hobby. It's a fabulous hobby. You should try it all, and you might find something else you like. And also, you got more to market. You know, if somebody comes along and says, "Can you make a JCB excavator appear?" I said yes. I did. I said yes. And Debbie said, when the man had gone, "How are you going to do that?" I said, "I don't know yet, but I'll invent something." And I did. And I made this damn big thing appear. So I couldn't have done that if I'd stuck just doing card tricks. And I think that is the problem with a lot of television magic now. The company wants something bigger, finds out the person they book can't do anything or have knowledge of anything bigger. They've never read all the books. Now they just watch DVDs. Frequently, I will watch a DVD of something I've read in a book by the man who wrote it in the book and thought, wow, if I'd seen him doing that, I would never have done it, because they're boring. And so I say to all magicians, young and old, read books, because you're not seeing somebody else do it, you're seeing yourself.
And then, of course, you're back on the road touring, constantly selling out theatres up and down the country. Is it glamorous? Is it fun? How are you enjoying it?
We really are. Actually, we said, we've had a couple of really good tours in the last few years, but we've really enjoyed this one, which is the first one for a while we've done on our own. But we have, and we've really had a lovely time. And even sort of leading up to Christmas, we were overlapping other jobs, and it was really intense. And I do a radio show on BBC Radio Berkshire, so I have to get back every Sunday to do that. But even with how busy it was, we didn't have any days off. We really enjoyed it. And, like today, it's cold, wet, miserable, but once we get on the stage, we really love it. So, it's great fun.
There's bad news for Kevin James. I'm already writing the next one.
Again, though, he was one guy who moved magic to the next level. It is brilliant, isn't it, when you see something you've never seen before? It's like hearing a joke you've not heard the punchline of.
Well, you see, that's why you should read books. Because, and I'm sure Kevin won't mind me saying this, I know that kind of magic that he features was done in 1919, 1920, 1921, about that time. The same concept. And, magic is timeless. Therefore, you can go back in time. If I vanished a pebble in the Stone Age time and they went, ugh, whoa, like that, it would be just as dramatic for them as in the year 2900, oh my God, how you doing that? Magic is timeless. It is the defiance of all known physical laws that bind us on the planet. That's it.
And of course, we recently saw you on TV looking gorgeous and doing your thing. We wouldn't see you on anything like Celeb Big Brother. You only seem to do classy things together or separately. Is that another marketing thing that you've decided, that you don't just do the crap you're offered?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been offered a few things recently.
For enormous money, but, money isn't everything. It's a long time, long term, that's the plot, yeah.
And we do sometimes feel guilty to our agent who's missing out on the commission. And we've had 2 jobs sort of in the last 6 months that were huge, and we could have, bought a few houses with the money, but we just said, well, and we've never regretted it, have we?
In this country, I think Joe Pasquale is very funny. Why would I want to watch him being buried and covered in rats? I don't find that entertaining at all. I don't think I'd have gone to the Colosseum and watched the Christians being eaten by lions. I just don't think it's entertaining.
But equally, you have to accept 9 million people at the final saw him become king of the jungle, so...
Only 9. That's not enough.
Yeah, but you see, you're comparing with 80s ratings, aren't you? Because in those days...
Now you're going to say, but there's a lot more choice now. No. There was choice then. You could go out for the night. You could go to the theatre. You could, yes, there was a lot of choice then. What it was regular TV that was quality, that was good, that was family. Nobody effed and blinded across the stage and made your granny embarrassed. It was considered careful TV, and it was being produced by people who came from theatre and not from media studies.
Also, there's a big difference now, is that we come from an era that kind of overlapped from the old Hollywood movies, where when you worked in television, they had, experts in lighting, makeup, dress designers. They wanted to make you look as good as they possibly can, and you rehearsed. Now, their agenda is to manipulate the editing and make you look as bad as they possibly can. Catch you at your worst. Those sort of programs don't feed you so that you're ratty, you're not yourself. It isn't reality at all. And we've done a couple of reality programs. We know what goes on behind the scenes, and now we just say there is no way that you could do it. Even if they've got 9 million views, we have other ways that lift our profile, and we just think it isn't worth it, you know.
No. And when you apply that to magic, hey man, it's street. Street was always there. It was the lowest form of magic. It was called busking. You know, you couldn't get a job in a good venue. You went on the street. I mean, I did it. My son Martin was the first one doing street magic on TV years ago. And that got forgotten. And then suddenly, there's a lot of channels all scrabbling for advertising money. And suddenly, you've got this situation where street... You don't have to buy a costume, you don't have to pay for scenery, you don't have to bother with lighting, you just see it as it is in all its warts. And I think it's ugly.
Somebody at the BBC once told me you were the last guys who had the big budget for Saturday night entertainment. I mean, they're just not giving that now. They put a quiz on, it costs nothing. Do you appreciate now, again, A, how lucky you were to be given that, and B, nobody else is going to get it today. They're not going to bring those budgets back.
But they have got those budgets, and they spend it on Strictly Come Dancing. So why not spend it on a good show of another type? I'm not saying bring me back, but I'm saying that don't look at the old variety shows. Variety shows existed because they had a vast range of acts to pick from, and they picked the acts, the quality acts, as we did from all over the world. You could still do that. They do it in Monaco. It's on, you can go on Monaco and watch great acts. And so why don't the BBC do it? Well, they don't do it because people like Alan Yentob, who has made TV shows they're still trying to find a viewer for, he doesn't like light entertainment. He's the only man I know who did and could make a TV show about Vegas and make it boring.
You're right.
You see? It's absolutely true. And he famously actually told the press that I didn't like him because he got rid of me on TV. And that is not true. I didn't like him before he got rid of me on TV. You know?
Don't like him now.
Don't like him now. I think what he's doing is possibly illegal in that he is a director of TV and giving himself the job as a presenter. I really think that's wrong. My wife doesn't like me speaking out about this, but I love the BBC. I think he mismanaged it.
You're talking to the wrong guy because you're looking at a guy who just got a settlement from the BBC having sued them, so I'm probably not the most balanced person to speak to. Let's talk about the 70s and 80s. I mean, you seem to be the only star of the BBC who's come out of it totally clean. What was the BBC like in those days? Do you think there was any cover-up? Were you aware of anything going on, or do you think this is all just the press hyping this up?
I think a lot of it must be hype. Some stuff must have been going on. I never heard about it. I never saw any of it. And as for blaming the BBC, that's pathetic, because in all my time at the BBC, 16 years, I think I saw an executive in my dressing room twice in 16 years. You can't blame those guys if somebody was being naughty in a dressing room. But in our time there, people weren't allowed in dressing rooms.
We were working too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You worked 7 days a week, and most of those days were 14, 16-hour days. It wasn't 12-hour days. You were just doing your job.
Yeah. There was nothing as far as I was concerned.
It is terrifying. I mean, Jim Davidson, I know we've just talked about trashy reality TV, managed to, I don't know how, come out of Celebrity Big Brother as a hero. I don't know how he pulled that off, because at some point the papers were pointing out all his sexism, racism, all the stuff they throw at him. His year was devastated last year by one allegation. How does it feel to be a star of your magnitude, to know that one rumour from one person can literally end your career? He lost all his live bookings. He had no work until Celebrity.
That's always been the way. That has always been the way.
Yeah.
If you go back to the time of Max Wall left his wife. It was a long time ago. very, very funny man and a big star. And he left his wife and he went off with Miss Britain or Miss England or something like that. The press murdered him. He was out of business for decades. I mean, it has always been the way. Charlie Drake, another one, he lost it. And so what happens is anybody that picks on a rumour. Now, there's an oddity here. There is an oddity here. I am not allowed to talk about anything directly related to U-Tree and its investigations. And that's legally binding upon me, because I typed it all out and put it, being me, Yorkshireman, tell the truth like it happens, and I typed it all out and put it on my blog. One day later I had to take it off. There it is. And I was just talking common sense. That was it.
Do you feel it's become a witch hunt and something that they can sort of get in the papers?
That's what I mean. I'm not even allowed to say that.
So what you're saying that you're not allowed to say is that you wrote something and you were asked formally to remove whatever it is that we can't talk about.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to pass comments or anything on it. And in a way, I guess they're right, because you're in a real no-win situation. You get branded with the same horrible brush that one or two have been branded with and found guilty.
And that was Jim's point, the things he was accused of that weren't even true were nothing to do with children, which of course is where this Operation U-Tree thing has really gone askew, isn't it?
Perhaps, I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I've lost all interest in all that, to be honest, and because I'm not allowed to pass comment on it, I don't bother with it. And we know quite well people who have been accused and this, that, and been stunned by the accusations, but we can't defend, we can't speak out, we can't anything.
And it's difficult because when you're in the limelight, I googled you today, for example. Have you been googled before, by the way?
Yes, many times.
I googled you. The first thing that comes up, Paul Daniels has 300 mistresses before Debbie. That's one of the headlines. They love to write this stuff. It feeds them, but it's equally damaging and can bring you down, can't it?
My line is I wrote that. I wrote it in. I wrote that. Yes, it's good for publicity, and it's things like when they say, "By hell, Paul, you're right lucky to have Debbie McGee." I said, "You don't know how many I auditioned." I mean, to me, everything is comedy. I have a wonderful, happy life. I have a fabulous wife. Yes. Things suddenly slam you down, but you got to get up and fight again,
When I thought 300, at what point would you lose count? I mean, 12, 13, 14, surely. I mean, it's a big number, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I had a 4-poster bed, and I counted the notches, and, no, it's just... I was writing an autobiography, and I don't think it's right that you should write an autobiography and leave stuff out. It's part of your life. It was part of the time, part of the era. And what people forget is it was over 10 years. I was divorced for 10 years,
18 years. 18 years you were divorced for.
18 years I was divorced. See, who's counting? I'd like,
you are.
I'd just like you to welcome my memory stick. And so, so it was a long time. And if you do that, and at the time I was doing one-night stands in clubs all over the place, showbiz one-night stands as well. And
one night's all they can stand? Or?
All I could stand. And it's just, so it was just part of the scene, nothing.
And again, what's the point of being in show business if you can't celebrate it?
No, well, I shall say nothing. I was at school.
I just realised where I went wrong. It was celebrate. And it's not, it's celebrate. Anyway, yes, go on.
Guys, it's really lovely to talk to you. Thank you for the show tonight. A terrific, wonderful show that I read today is going to the West End. You've got this show running, I think, next month for a while, and people in London can come and see you.
Yeah, we've had such a good tour, which, it started in September, that's how these dates happened after Christmas. We were meant to finish in December, and, we're at the Jermyn Street Theatre for the last week of Feb.
Brilliant. And we need more of this. We need more of your people.
Conjuring. conjuring. That's what we
Not
want.
so much of that, more ad-libbers, people who can stand on stage. It's your confidence. That's what came across tonight. Above everything else is the fact that nothing can floor either of you. If the tricks went wrong, it wouldn't matter, would it? You'd find a way out.
I always, when I'm designing stuff for the stage, I always then go through every detail of where it could go wrong, and I've got plan B.
And you're normally plan C because he's always got you on the side as well, and he can bring you on at any point and you're there waiting.
Exactly, you're right, Alex. Yeah, I'm usually there, and it has happened. What Paul will do, because he goes on and has a party every night, he'll suddenly decide that he fancies doing something else that's in the dressing room. So yeah, Muggins used to end up rushing up loads of stairs. Debbie, get me a so-and-so.
And the final question I've got to ask is, Paul Daniels is the star, but you're the one everybody remembers. Is it fun being you? I mean, you're talked about so much. Everybody knows your name, Debbie McGee. Everybody knows what you look like. I mean, you're one of a unique, small number of people in show business. You've mastered something incredible, haven't you?
Well, I'm sort of not aware of it myself. I just kind of get on with living.
She says that, but Paul McCartney knew her name and her legs went wobbly.
Yeah, that's the only time I've kind of really been aware of it. And I met Paul McCartney, who I adore. And, you know, Paul went to say, oh, and this is quite a few years ago now, this is Debbie, but before he got my name out, Paul McCartney went, oh, hello, Debbie. And I went,
Congratulations. What's your website so people can find the tour dates?
Oh, I'm pauldaniels.co.uk. We've got magicandfancydress.com. We've got pauldanielsmagicshop.com. And they're all being revamped. It's wonderful. And yes, we're on Twitter. I'm the Paul Daniels and Debbie the Debbie McGee.
And should I want to poke you on Facebook, where do I go there?
Facebook's complicated, isn't it? Yes, it's for old people. We're Twitter people.
Listen, lovely to talk to you. Congratulations on the show, and I'll see you again soon. Let's talk again.
Get a better photographer. You're better looking live.